It's past 1:30. Let's start. My name is Rajiv Shah from Kyoto University, and I will be moderating this session. And with me, we have four panelists or four presenters. Charles Rogers from Asian Development Bank, then Markus Monek from ISET, then Ugen Thewang, sorry for my bad pronunciation, from Royal Government of Bhutan, and Kyosuke Inada from JICA. This session, as you can see from the topic, is Insights from Practice. And the way we would like to do this session is that initially I will give a 10 to 12 minutes opening presentation for setting up the stage, and we will have four interventions, and the order would be first from Charles of ADB, followed by Kyosuke Inada from JICA, and then we will hear from Royal Government of Bhutan, and then we will hear from Markus of ISET. And then, so each of the presentation or intervention should be limited to 8 to 10 minutes, and then we will have around 20-25 minutes for discussions and comments from the floor. Well, with that, let me bring you through this presentation. When you talk about practice, I think practice has different connotation for each of the people, especially depends on your background. In the plenary one, I heard that how many of you are urban planner or how many of you are from the development banks and so on. So based on your professional background, based on your current work, I think practice has different meaning. And at the onset, let me point out that practice doesn't mean that always community practices we are talking about. Practice means what you do in the development bank when you go back and make your own development policies, or when you are in the government making the policies, how you reflect the policies into the incorporating the implementation aspect, or when you are in the research institutions or in the academics, how you actually link your current work to the practice. So again, I leave this word practice to define by yourself. Possibly we will come back to these discussions once again a little bit later part of this. Can I have the next slide, please? So, of course, this is not all exhaustive list of the issues of the practices, but I try to list down a few issues which, from my own experience working in the Asian region over the last 15 years or so, I thought that might be of interesting. Understanding the risk perception, communicating the risk, documenting and applying practices, linking to the local governance, and linking to knowledge and education system. Please don't interpret this as any order. These are just a few key issues. Again, I won't go into the details of this, but possibly some of our colleagues or in the panel, they will possibly reflect some of this in the later part. Next slide, please. To give you this very short example of risk perception, this is a study one of my master student in Kyoto University did almost 4 or 5 years back in Bangladesh. And this is a perception survey of the local farmers, and we studied it 3 locations about their interpretation, their perceptions about climate risk. And you can see that there are 3 areas, Kurigram, Noakhali, and Sylhet. And when we asked the local farmers about the rainfall pattern changes, one told increasing, Kurigram was the decreasing, and the Noakhali had a sort of mixed one, and Sylhet was increasing. Of course, depending on the nature of the country, there are differential changes, but if you see the annual average rainfall, especially in this left-hand side, which is the Kurigram, it's not decreasing, it's rather increasing. But to a farmer, their perception is they are not measuring the total amount of rainfall. They are seeing, for them, the rainfall is the one which is required for their own agriculture. They were taught by their parents or grandparents or their earlier generations that by this time of the year you make the field, and then by this time of year there will be the first shower, and then you go on for the agriculture, which is not happening. So how we perceive, or how the local farmers or the local villagers perceive the risk, that's one very specific point possibly we need to address when we talk about the practice.